I hope you're beautiful lot. My name's Jason and this is my 80s podcast. You put the boom boom into my heart. Right, here comes the intro. Oh, well, that was quick. This is what I'm playing. Right, welcome back. Take a good look at this. Right, you beautiful lot. 40 years of Live Aid. So, this is the start of my podcast a day, 10-minute podcast chat with loads of different people about what 40 years of Live Aid means to them. Did they watch it? Did they go? What was it about it? What did they like about it? And what were they doing when they was watching it? Where were they? All the stuff that, you know what I mean? I know what it was like to be there, and I absolutely blew my mind. But I thought I would love to do loads of different podcasts, one a day, all the way up to the 13th of July, was when it's their 40-year anniversary. And this is what we got, and it's absolutely brilliant. Please take a look and a listen. Right, hello, you beautiful. My name's Jason. This is my 80s podcast, and I'm here with the amazing Karen, wherever she's situated. And we're going to talk about, Karen, 40 years of Live Aid.
Wow.
I know. Do you know what? When I think of that, I always think to myself, my mum lied to me. I can't be this age that I know.
How old were you when it came out?
When it came out, so in 1985, I would have been 14.
Oh, I was 22.
So, yeah, so that's what. This is why I thought I'd do this, because we can have different people with different ages. So right, what do you remember about Live Aid? What do you? Where were you? Please,
I was living in London, New Malden.
Ooh.
And I was with my ex-boyfriend at the time. It was a really hot day, I remember that. And I started in the morning. I was literally from the opening, from the get-go, I was going to decide I was going to watch it.
Yeah.
So I literally sat on the living room floor. Basically, I was lying on the floor watching up at the telly, and I don't think I moved apart from going to the toilet. I was fixed. And the bit that got me, I think, when the band came out at the beginning.
Yeah.
Goosebumps, a complete goosebumps.
See, people forget about that, because I have to be honest, I forgot about that, but I have seen it, and I know exactly what you mean.
Oh, and I was like in awe of that. I thought this can't get any better than this. And then Status Quo came out and did Rockin' All Over the World, and I was like, this is going to be phenomenal.
I'm a bit like that. When you watched it, and I remember thinking, you got that, and then you seen I thought. I mean, because at the time, Status Quo were massive then, weren't they, as well?
But you say that, they were massive, but when you think of the lineup, the not so popular acts went first. They got better as the day went on, and they saved the best for last, didn't they? And, I mean, Queen, without doubt, best one.
That comes to my next question. I know that we all, I mean, everyone remembers Queen, but if there was what was your standout moment from on the whole? Because it was on for like 15, 16 hours.
Queen. If I'm honest, Queen. I think when they came out, and they had about 4 or 5 songs, didn't they? And I just couldn't breathe. I was like.
I felt like I held my breath for the whole time they was on.
Yeah, and that's me. If I don't remember anything about Live Aid, I'm always going to remember that.
Do you know what I was saying? Because I spoke on I always remember, there's a couple, I always remember, for me, because obviously I was an 80s fan of Madonna, I remember Madonna, and I didn't realise that she was late for a lot of the stuff on there, because the last one I did, someone was saying, she was late, and...
she was having a bit of a paddy about her costume as well, apparently.
Yeah, and Bette Midler had to introduce her. She weren't impressed because she was making her weight. So I remember, and I was massive. For me, I'd heard of Madonna, I'd heard the songs, and I was a bit, I liked her, but that made me even worse when I saw her, because it's probably one of the first, and I thought she can't, you know, I mean, I've always said to people, Madonna's not got the most amazing voice, but she's so creative, and especially 80s. I did like some of the later ones, but mostly the 80s Madonna for me, no one could touch 80s Madonna.
No, I agree with you there.
And that's what I remember on there, because I remember her singing like songs, especially songs from like True Blue album, which was like, she sang like Jimmy Jimmy, and I'd never heard of that because the album hadn't come out yet. So for me, hearing new songs that she'd got was just amazing. And I always remember like Salt and Pepper as well, believe it or not.
Oh, that's one thing.
Singing Pusher. You know?
Oh my goodness, yeah. Oh, you too. Oh my goodness. Bono. That blew my mind away, that one.
I mean, Bono's got an amazing voice.
Oh, incredible.
It's like when I listen to Live Aid song, obviously George Michael's the voice pops out to me, and the rest of them, and they're all amazing. But when you hear him hit that bit, Bono's voice is just incredible.
Loved it. And George Michael and Elton John, that was amazing.
Yes, because that was like, it was an Elton John song, wasn't it? So it was like one of the first times they'd sang that. And I think when you watch it now, I mean, it's like they are the pop out ones, aren't they? Like the Queen, and everyone remembers Status Quo because it was one of the first ones. But it's like people forget things like Salt and Pepper, and even Tracy Chapman.
Yeah, she
sang Fast Car, wasn't it, on there? And we all just thought, wow.
Yeah,
and there was loads. There was Spandau Ballet, weren't there? There was Duran
it just went on and on, didn't it? It was 16 hours. It was like
you had to,
and then you had to keep going backwards and forwards to America, didn't you? So
yes, because that was Phil Collins was the one, wasn't he? When he sang in both continents.
Yeah, he got on a jet. He got on Concorde. Yeah, he got on Concorde and flew over.
And the thing is, you'd never be able to. That'd never be. And this is why that's why I always think is when people say, "Oh, but you're so." I would rather be my age now, because that sort of is like Live Aid now.
Yes, I don't think you would ever get that back. That's never going to happen.
It was the first time they'd ever done a massive concert.
Yeah. Do you know how much tickets were?
How much?
£5. I'm not joking.
Stop.
I'm not kidding you. They were £5. They were £5.
Why didn't none of us go? But £5 then was probably a little bit more than what it is now.
Well, yeah, because when I was 22, when I was 21, we got our first flat, and my mortgage was £180 a month.
Oh God!
So when you think of it, then £5 is a lot of money.
And I always think with Live Aid, and I've said this so many times, I just think you can watch it. I mean, I love the fact that younger people are getting into it and they can watch it now and think, oh my, but I love the fact that I was there when it was on. Do you know that you can't, that first time you ever see it, because now you can watch it anywhere, and I've seen them a million times, but I think the first time you watch it, but then I think some of the ones that have never seen it, I bet they get that lovely feeling that we all had in the 80s when we first ever watched it, especially if you've never watched it now.
Yeah. It's just that emotional feeling when every act came on and you didn't know who was coming on next, because they never said. There wasn't a program. Only the people that were there had the program. Yeah. So you didn't really know who was coming up. And then the acts in between, the comedy acts, you had oh God, what was the comedy couple that introduced Queen? Oh, they used to tell you all the time.
Oh God, no!
I can't remember the name. It's a little short guy. Griffith Jones and what's the other guy who used to?
Oh, I know what you mean. I can't.
I can't remember his name.
Was it Mel? Was his name Mel Griffith?
That's it. Yes, it was. It was
in Mel. Yeah, Mel.
Yeah.
Mel Smith.
He introduced Queen. He came on and did Queen. And I remember him coming on, and he just literally walked on the stage, and obviously the crowd went mad. And I thought, did they know who it is?
Do you know what I remember as well as that? And I've spoke before was seeing Princess Diana. Absolutely,
rocking and dancing.
Yeah, because no one had ever seen that from a royal family. I mean,
No.
obviously they've done it in the but she was up there, and I
She
think
was going for it.
that
Yeah.
was probably one of the ways when that was one of the times where people just thought that's why, I mean, she became the people's princess, didn't she?
Yeah.
And that's when people saw that and just thought, do you know what? She is
Yeah.
real. She is like the rest of us. And I just think for me, that was probably one of the first times I'd ever saw anyone from the royal family dancing like, I mean, she was so
I wonder how some of the people felt that turned it down, though.
Yes, because I bet some did. I mean, I've not looked. I should have looked into that, So I wonder if there's.
Well, I know 3. Rod Stewart.
Did I? Oh,
Michael
Rod.
Jackson wouldn't do it. I can't
Oh,
remember the other one. That was Rod. Oh, Prince didn't do it.
No, but then it's a bit like, because I didn't realise, is it this year or is it next year where it's 40 years of We Are the World? And it's like when you watch that documentary that was on and obviously Bob Geldof went over because he did the Live Aid stuff. And Prince didn't want to go to that. He wanted to record it somewhere else, didn't he? Which is, you know what I mean, a bit ridiculous. But Michael Jackson, you should have done it, man.
Why would you, like, that would have been brilliant for him to have done that. But Rod Stewart, why did Rod Stewart turn it down?
Rod. In the comments, tell us why you put it down.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's like,
there was enough on there, though, wasn't there?
But did you watch the film Bohemian Rhapsody? Because in that it says that Queen almost didn't do it.
Yeah. And when I watched the film, I didn't realise, obviously, that was the time that Freddie had been found out he was diagnosed with HIV, wasn't it? And when you watch that now and then realise what must have been going through his head at the time, but he was still absolutely magical. You know what I mean?
I still love that. Still love that.
And I think that's what now, so especially watching the film and watching the documentary and seeing the bits of Live Aid, I just think, how did you come on the stage knowing you've just been given that diagnosis? Because at the time, in 1985, it was a death sentence, wasn't it? And it was still...
And his voice wasn't perfect because it was quite croaky.
Until he got on that stage. And then I just think, you got on that stage knowing all that and absolutely owned. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anybody own a stage, even now.
Just travelled all up and down, didn't he?
From then, when you think, I mean, Queen always owned the stage. I know Freddie Mercury was just in a different league, wasn't it? I always think.
So sad we lost him, but it's like that thing about David Bowie as well, though, because what was supposed to happen? He was supposed to sing in England, and Mick Jagger was supposed to sing in America, but they couldn't get the signal so that they were in sync with each other. Yeah. So they abandoned that, and they just showed video.
That goes to show, though, doesn't it, how great our technology is?
Oh, exactly. That's what I mean. In those days, they couldn't lip sync them together.
No. And it's quite sad because that would have been absolutely amazing if they could have done that. You know what I mean? If they'd have done. I did. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of Bowie, but do you know what? Talent where talent is. And especially when you watch, especially Live Aid, you've got literally, I mean, you had Bowie, I mean, as much as people don't think he was from the Boomtown Rats, wasn't it? You know, I mean, they were a massive 80s. I remember listening to them. There probably wasn't like all the other bands, but he was still a good 80s thing. And like Phil Collins as well.
Oh, he's brilliant.
He just he's so 80s. And one of my other favourite songs that I had was Ultravox with Vienna. Absolutely. He's a good-looking man as well. Oh,
Midget. Oh, yeah. With his little tash.
Yeah. But when you think all these, and it's like, and I always think all these sort of like icons from the 80s that were on this massive platform thing, especially this I mean, to go 40 years is some doing, isn't it? And it's still relevant, and people still watch it now, and people, when you watch. When I hear, especially some of the young ones, and they'll say, like, and I've mentioned about 40 years, they'll go, I'm only 24. But they've watched it, and they said it was just amazing. Absolutely.
What I love more than anything, I think, when you talk about Bowie, Elton John, all of those, they did the difference between the 80s singers and the singers of today is the 80s singers had their own individual style and sound, and not one singer sounded like the next. No. So Bowie had his own tone in his voice. Jagger had his own.
Yeah, absolutely.
They weren't all what I would consider absolutely fantastic singers. They just had a talent for a style. Whereas
and they were unique
now,
because you because the thing is that when you watch Live Aid, it's like when they say, you know exactly who it is because you know their voice. Whereas
you know their voice.
Yeah, and I just think it's like I'm sure someone told me, I don't know if this is true, that Kim Wilde was supposed to be on as well on Live Aid. I don't know if she's fantastic for me, but that, I mean, I don't know how true that is. Someone did mention it a while, and when I was talking about, obviously I'm doing all this for this 40th anniversary.
Yeah.
And I was talking, so I thought, God, but like you said, 40 years ago, you can't regret it now, can you? Well, if you do, you're carrying that around me for 40 years.
Yeah.
But I think I'm a bit like you there, Karen. I always think that you can't, it's like, you can't replicate that. And I wouldn't want them to replicate it.
No. Not
because it was of a time, wasn't it? And it was when especially they were massive, and they were rock stars as well, weren't they? They weren't just like pop stars; they were rock stars.
Well, they did everything. They produced, they wrote their own music, they wrote their own songs.
Yeah.
And you know, 100% if you're playing something, you've only got to play the first few bars of a song in the 80s, and immediately you know what it is.
Absolutely. And you know
now
exactly
you're like,
what.
Not a clue. I mean, appetite.
I have to be honest, Karen, I haven't got a clue what's in the charts anymore because I still listen to. I still have 80s radio. Right, thanks ever so much for that, Karen. That's a quick one. I just wanted to do so I'm going to put these out. There's going to be out every day. So I'm trying to get, I think I've got 4 already. I've got a few more to be done. So thanks ever so much. And I will speak to you soon. Thanks ever so much for coming on, Karen. Okay, bye. Bye. How brilliant was that? How amazing was that? Do you know what? This is why I love doing my 80s podcast, because I get to have some amazing guests on and then just be able to do some great 80s stuff on my own as well. And I just absolutely blows my mind. So please, if you want to follow me, Instagram, TikTok, it's not Twitter, I keep saying Twitter, X, Facebook, YouTube. Follow me on YouTube for some great episodes, and Spotify, and audio version go onto Apple as well. And please have a great day, you beautiful lot. Y'all come back now. You hear?